Yep. The new boss, Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan, just like the old boss, Bill de Blasio. He's de Blasio 2.0. What I heard this morning with Sid and friends is alarming, suggests that he is completely disconnected and that he has not learned from the attack of 9/11. I heard a guy who, unfortunately, is mayor of the city of New York, who does not understand the gravity when you just allow people to come into our country, some of whom have a blood feud mentality about family relatives and others who may have been killed when we had to go out and destroy terrorist enclaves, whether they were ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or groups affiliated with them. This man exhibited absolutely no knowledge of what you have to do to remain safe and secure, almost to the point of what we saw on the border with Gaza, a complete failure by Mossad, the domestic operation of Israel to protect them, and Shin Bet, the international district, and the IDF, a complete failure. So Sid ended up challenging Eric Adams about all the illegal aliens that he has welcomed into this country and also into our city, who we know have not been vetted. But listen to the pivot and shift by Eric Adams.
What we know, Mr. Mayor, that there's a lot of folks that have already come here to have an honest conversation, thousands of folks that have come here that have not been vetted. We know that. Is that not fair to say?
No, I don't know that. If you're talking about regular means, or if you're talking about people who snuck into the country in a legal fashion, yes. There are thousands who have come here without going through the regular means, and that's what we must make sure that does not happen.
First off, this mayor is completely ignorant about what happens at the border, at those transit points where you come in as a quote-unquote asylum seeker. Many of them have no papers. Many of them have fake papers. Many of them claim to be Venezuelans with fake papers. And most importantly, he has no knowledge of those who have spent $18,000 apiece to fly from Central Africa and North Africa, from Mauritania, from Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, where there are hotbeds of ISIS and Al-Qaeda cell units operating, to fly into Mexico City one way and then to work their way up to the border and then come across what he calls legally as asylum seekers. This guy is really a schmuck and a putz. He has absolutely no idea of how terrorists would use the cover of coming in as an asylum seeker through Juarez into El Paso, which I've been at, Eagle Pass, which I've not been to in Texas, and from Nuevo Laredo into Laredo across the Rio Grande, which I have been into. He knows nothing about nothing. And then Sid said to him, as we had heard, Chicago is now being urged to work with ICE again because they're overwhelmed with illegal aliens flooding into their city. But notice how he just dismisses the effort of our federal law enforcement agency that protects us from illegal invasion, particularly those illegal aliens that would do harm to us.
I would ask you about ICE. I love those people personally. And you and other Democrat officials have come under fire because, especially Governor Andrew Cuomo, too, because not really standing up for ICE when oftentimes, as you know, Eric, they're kind of the last line of defense. What are your thoughts on ICE these days as the world is basically on fire?
Well, the laws in this city are clear, and you have to abide by the laws. If not, you're going to have a state of disorder. And the laws of the city are that the city does not turn people over to ICE. Those are the laws of this city. And I don't think ICE is the front line and the last line of defense.
I don't think that ICE is the front line or the last line of defense. he enforces an order not to turn over criminals to ICE. These are illegal aliens or asylum seekers or anyone who is here who should be deported eventually for the crimes that they've committed. He doesn't believe in that. He just said that. I want you to play that again. Lou, I want this to sink in to our population, because whatever happens in New York City here affects the tri-state area. It affects the as the attack in 9/11 affected all of you, as the initial attack in 1993. What are we waiting? 3 times is the charm? Listen to the guy who is in charge of the effort to keep everybody safe and secure, the mayor who knows nothing at all about protecting us from terrorists.
I would ask you about ICE. I love those people personally. And you and other Democrat officials have come under fire because, especially Governor Andrew Cuomo, too, because not really standing up for ICE when oftentimes, as you know, Eric, they're kind of the last line of defense. What are your thoughts on ICE these days as the world is basically on fire?
Well, the laws in this city are clear, and you have to abide by the laws. If not, you're going to have a state of disorder. And the laws of this city are that the city does not turn people over to ICE. Those are the laws of this city. And I don't think ICE is the front line and the last line of defense.
Now, do we have NYPD down at the border doing background checks before illegal aliens come across and then are herded into buses by Catholic charities and sent to New York City? How can you do a background check on anybody? You're standing there. It's like momentarily you're looking at them, you're asking them a few questions, and then overwhelmed as they are, Limigra, ICE, handcuffed by the Biden administration. And it's made even worse by Kathy Crime Wave Holcomb and Eric Adams, and I'll say Governor Murphy. Tonight I'll be at a fundraiser for Jack Citarelli, the Republican who barely lost to half in the bag Murphy the last time. This time Murphy's term limited it out, and we got to go all in to getting Jack Citarelli elected as governor. He deserves it. We'll get to that momentarily. But he said ICE is not the main line of defense, but that the NYPD is. Okay. So he's adopted the line of Andrew Cuomo going back to 2014, where Cuomo and the Democrats vilified the organization that was started in the aftermath of the attack of 9/11 in 2003 to protect us from terrorists, from criminals, from drug dealers, and from the nefarious elements of those coming into our country illegally.
New York State is the state that says we will not cooperate with ICE. They're a bunch of thugs. He politicized ICE. They're a bunch of thugs. We said we will sue them if they violate any criminal laws in the state of New York.
And that is the attitude of the Democratic Party here in the state of New York and in the city of New York. We have not yet seen them rise to the occasion like Chicago that is saying, we got to start working with ICE again. We're overwhelmed. And then, of course, there's Eric Adams talking about the counterterrorism NYPD unit that everyone knows has been depleted. There's been article after article. There used to be 1,000 men and women dedicated to rooting out terrorism within the 5 boroughs and beyond, with outposts in Qatar and Amman, Jordan, and under the tutelage of Ray Kelly, longest-serving police commissioner, to also have the Hercules unit out there, helmeted with machine guns, constantly patrols going up and down the major avenues with lights and sirens going. So any potential terrorists would know that the NYPD was constantly vigilant, prioritizing them as the number one threat to all of us. And they are the terrorists. Listen to what Eric Adams has done to our counterterrorism NYPD unit. He has neutered them. He has removed their power. He has scattered them into the wind of other agencies of the NYPD.
There was a special unit, Mr. Mayor, terrorism unit, about 1,000 of them, special forces for the NYPD, and I've been told that unit has been depleted. Is there any truth to that?
No, here's what that unit was doing, Sid. I don't know if you have been at many events and you've noticed that you saw individuals who were using the long guns
Yes.
with heavy equipment. They were standing at those locations where a sensitive locations, normal targets. We want to better utilize those officers. Instead of having 5, 6 officers standing in front of the Empire State Building or standing at a particular location at Grand Central, we want to better deploy our officers. And we've had a massive shift in the deployment of officers.
Oh, my God. He has just told all the terrorists out there, some of whom are embedded here, who listen to WABC, as they do other outlets. That's how they find out what's going on, in addition to intelligence they receive from their managers and Medicis overseas, that we don't have a functioning counterterrorism NYPD unit like we've had in the past. He has broken them up, and he has scattered them into other units of the NYPD. He has made us extraordinarily vulnerable now to a terrorist attack. The number one responsibility that a mayor has when they take the oath of office is to protect the people. This man has forsaken us. He's not doing it in the streets with regular criminals, and he has stripped away the strength of the counterterrorism NYPD unit created in the aftermath of the attack of 9/11, strengthened by Ray Kelly. I'm hoping that Sid gets Ray Kelly on, because now I feel we are totally vulnerable. This man, Eric Adams, couldn't find Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Chad, or Sudan on the map. Those are the North Africans who are already here. Most of them don't have a terrorist bone in their body. But there are active cells of ISIS and Al-Qaeda in those countries. What does it take to sneak somebody across the border? And by the way, Peter King, who was involved in the House many, many years, Homeland Security and keeping us safe, actually agreed with me.
I don't always agree with Curtis. The one thing he's saying now about everyone is standing with Israel, and in a few weeks, this is going to start to die down. That's my concern. After 9/11, everyone was saying we got to be more aggressive. We got to monitor. We got to make sure this never happens again. And then we spent the next 5 years suing the NYPD and the feds for monitoring the Muslim community too closely.
Right.
And we went on defense. I mean, they held rallies against me in Times Square when I was doing the radicalization hearings.
Absolutely correct. He was tarred and feathered, and so many of his fellow elected officials. Let Peter King out to dry. Some of them are Republicans. I stand with Peter King. I stand with Ray Kelly. You must be strong. You must show incredible strength. The terrorists will now look and see a depleted counterterrorism NYPD unit with few, if any, members of the Hercules unit with their helmets, military garb, and obviously their submachine guns. And they'll know that they got us, just like they got the Israelis at the Gaza border, because they went to sleep. They got us because we got a mayor who thinks he knows better than Peter King, than Ray Kelly, and almost all of you with basic freaking common sense who survived the attacks of 1993 at the World Trade Center, and again, the mother of all attacks, 9/11.